Hello, friends.
Hi,
Welcome to the podcast. Book 3, Chapter 3.
I'm Paige.
I'm Caleb. And this episode has been a long time coming.
Yes, we've hinted at it quite a bit.
Not as much as the sequel series. We didn't, that creeps up a whole lot more than Legend of Korra.
Speaking of the sequel series, just kidding.
We could liken this to the sequel series, I think.
I mean, I do have a Ray Funko Pop up there.
Nice. So for people who treat this podcast like a podcast and are just listening and you can't see what's going on over here, we will be talking about The Legend of Korra.
Yeah, it's a pretty good story. It's like the continuation of the Avatar cycle.
Like Jake Sully.
Ha ha ha. This is way better than the Avatar series.
All right, you want to explain it?
Sure. Legend of Korra follows the newest Avatar, Korra, and it follows her struggle of being introduced into the modern world that is Avatar, especially helping the world come to balance after um, years of war. And she enters into this city called Republic City, and they don't really like her. There's a whole political battle. There's always push and pull, and then also she deals with the merging of the spirit world and their world that they have. So she is able to control water, fire, air, and earth, whereas other people are just able to do either one or none. So follows her stories. There's 4 seasons. It's broken up a little bit. The first season was its own story about her learning how to do air. Seasons 2 and 3 were about her merging their worlds with the spirit world, which is essentially where their power comes from. And then season 4 is her overcoming her mental health. And yeah, it's a pretty good series.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a good place to start real quick because I think that's something that people don't really take into account when they watch Legend of Korra. Um, I'm going to preface this episode. Oh, full spoilers if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I think that just goes for every episode.
Yeah, but I mean, I think we're still supposed to say it. Um, just like a little bit of background, I'm just going to say I enjoy Legend of Korra, but I don't love it like I do Avatar.
Yes, I agree.
So I will be saying some pretty critical things probably, but also know that it's with love.
Also, for those of you that are just listening, he literally has all the seasons in front of him. So
Yeah, on DVD. Like, I
yeah.
mean, I did begrudgingly get book 4, but okay. Let me get to what I was saying though. So when you like watch it, there's not like a continuous villain throughout the entire series like there was in Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think
Yeah.
that's a benefit that Aang had that Korra doesn't. Like they were able, like Aang had one goal that he was focused, I guess two goals. He had to master the elements and then be Ozai. You know, that was the whole thing. They had 3 seasons to build up this thing. But Nickelodeon only gave them 1 season for Korra. So they created Amon and they like introduced like the political like non-benders like need more rights, you know?
Yeah.
Like all that stuff and they wrapped up that story pretty nicely at the
Yeah.
end.
Oh my
And
gosh. Yeah,
then
the ending of season 1.
yeah, and then Nickelodeon is like, "Oh, people love that. Let's greenlight 2 more." So then the next 2 are in my opinion the best parts of Korra.
I would say though season 3 for me is actually pretty fun.
Yeah, that's why I said the next 2. The next
Oh,
2 are
oh.
seasons 2 and 3.
Sorry. When you pointed to 1 and 2.
No, I pointed right here. Oh, but I see what you're saying. So my 2 goes all the way to back to here.
Yeah.
So when I point like this, it's I was pointing
Gotcha.
at the back ends. I guess I should point up here at the fronts.
Gotcha. Sorry, that was my
Um,
bad, everybody.
yeah, it's okay. Let's turn our listening ears on. Fun fact: you know this, I can wiggle my ears, but you might not know this. When teachers told me to turn my listening ears on, I would like flex my ears like I'm wiggling them. So like I like actually turn my listening ears on when it's like time to listen.
That's so fun.
It's
I
like
didn't know
it's like
that.
this weird reflex I've developed since I was a kid. Anyway, books 2 and 3 are the best parts of Korra, in my opinion. And I think it's because they had just like this continuous storyline. They each had separate villains, but it was still a continuous storyline.
Yeah,
And then Nickelodeon greenlit book 4, and I feel like that was a mistake.
I do too.
I feel like Korra's story was really good in number 3. And like that would have been a good stopping point. Like for book like I mean Aang had 3 books, like Korra doesn't necessarily need 4 books, and like season 4 is good, but it definitely was on the downhill slope.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, let's talk about it. Honestly, season 4 for me, I understand them tackling such a hard subject of mental health was like a huge undertaking. My thing is I feel like they betrayed Korra a little bit. Like she seasons 1, 2, and 3 was so strong, so headstrong, so stubborn. It doesn't quite make sense. I feel like they betrayed the character a little bit because they were like, well, we got to give Korra something to overcome. And so they were like, let's do mental health. And it's like, okay, cool, but at the same time, that whole season was just her hiding. And I don't think, based on what season 1, 2, and 3 Korra was doing, I don't think she would have backed down from that. Like she faced way bigger things, and then all of a sudden, like she's unable to do anything. And I know that she still had like the poison inside of her body. It just doesn't. For me, there was a disconnect, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, like I mean she definitely went through some traumatic stuff with Zahir and like just all that. I mean, she's honestly probably having nightmares about the spirit she saw in book 2. Those things were creepy.
Yeah, seriously.
But yeah, you're so right. Like, I mean, in book 4, she like wasn't well, and it's not just book 4, but I feel like it also happened in book 2. I feel like they reset Korra when they reset the stories, when Nickelodeon reset the stories.
Yes, that's
So
exactly what it feels
on
like.
book 1, book 2, and book 4, Korra is like beginning at a new low, basically.
Yeah,
But it's still the same low that she's already been at, just like in a different form, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, I agree. Low is the same low. Like, I feel like a character can go up and then down and then up and then down in a story, especially a heroine. But for them to go all the way up just to come all the way back down, it doesn't feel good for the viewers that are like, wait, I put in all this time and now we're back to square one.
Yeah, like when you compare it to Aang, which some people are like, don't compare it, but like you absolutely compare it. They're two avatars.
Yeah.
When you compare her to Aang, after book 1 water, Aang was just a master waterbender and like he just used waterbending like it was second nature. So it's like she should have been using all these skills that she banked up throughout book 4, but
Yes.
she like wasn't.
Also the relationships. Like she had her friends and then she had her family, and this is something that I actually have a really hard time in this series, and I do love it. So don't worry guys, we'll talk about positive things too. But her parents are alive and well, but she doesn't treat them like parents. Like not until season 3 when her dad saves her, almost saves her from getting taken by Zakir. But like what about her mom? Like I don't think her mom has like more than 3 lines of dialogue.
Do we even know her mom's name?
I know she has a name, but I don't remember what it is right
Yeah,
now.
everyone has a name.
I'm serious though. Like that's how immemorable her parents are. And like I don't think as parents you would just be like, "Yeah, go ahead, go be depressed for 6 months. You're not writing back, but we're not going to worry about it."
Yeah, I don't know. Though, like, yeah, I feel like they mishandled book 4. It could have been way better.
Yes. I
It
agree.
felt. I feel like I'm gonna get some heat for this, but I feel like there were real world political situations that like aided in the story of book 4. That they were like shoehorning, like, oh, these are like real world problems. Let's shoehorn it into book 4.
Yes.
And it's like, I mean, it's fine to talk about all that stuff. I just feel like there could have been more planning behind it
Yeah.
to
I also
make it more memorable.
I also feel like if you give her 6 months of misery and then she gets over it in 2 episodes, it's like, I don't know. That also is a little bit like give her some give her something else. I don't know.
I
It's
I
just
don't know though. If
tough.
I met Toph, I'd probably be pretty happy too after that.
But that also sort of goes with, I guess we're going to transition here a little bit. So since it's like a continuation and Aang has obviously died, there's still members of the core gang that are still alive. Um,
Yeah, and gang is Gaang. You just want to point that out.
yes, spelled like Aang but with a G in front. Um, so there's Katara who's still alive. There's Toph that's still alive, and then there's Zuko that's still alive. And they don't really like Katara's there as a healer. Toph's there as sort of like a healer mentor in season 4. And then Zuko is there as like the Fire Lord. Um,
He's not the Fire Lord. Azumi is.
yeah, his daughter. Which, by the way, is like that's sort of a cool nod. I do really, really like that. And he's the only one that really like helps in like the fighting portion, I would say. Also he rides a dragon, so that's pretty sick. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's the part that I wish that they would have maybe dove into a little bit more. Like for me, it would make sense for them to be a part of the White Lotus.
Yeah. I have some issues with the White Lotus in Legend of Korra.
All right, go for it.
And it's the exact same issues that Zahir has.
Okay.
The White Lotus is a secret society. So now to have these guys like in these like power positions wearing their White Lotus robes and like just like doing their thing, it's just kind of weird. It like betrays what the White Lotus is.
Mm.
So like to me it makes sense that the Red Lotus was created. Like I
To
mean
oppose the
they're
White
like
Lotus.
well they're like we are like what the White Lotus is supposed to be. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see that.
Okay,
You
yeah,
know?
that's pretty cool.
So that's one of my issues with that.
I just wish because you're they appealed really well. This is actually something that's super interesting. They appealed really well to the original audience of Avatar: The Last Airbender, which then became adults at that point. Well, maybe like teenagers or young adults. Um, they appealed so well to them that they eventually, in at the end of season 3 and season 4, it was streamed only. Like it wasn't put on TV for kids, it was just for adults. Now, that doesn't mean that it has mature themes, but like they appealed really well to that adult thing, that adult audience. So if they were going to appeal to it a little bit more, I wish that they would have brought in the OG characters a little bit
Yeah.
extra.
I mean, I think we're betraying our format here and I'm totally fine with it. We really need to just reformat the format.
Yeah.
They are coming out with a series of the gang as adults.
Oh yeah, that's right, huh?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
cuz
that's why one of the creators or both of the creators, I don't remember, were part of the writing team for the Netflix live action. And then they left because Nickelodeon greenlit the cartoon. So they're going to continue with the cartoon and they're leaving the live action in Netflix's hands and hopefully they don't screw it up.
they better not. If they do, I'm a
Well, I heard they're doing pretty good with One Piece. I've never seen the cartoon of One Piece and I've never seen the anime for One Piece, like or the live action for One Piece. I should have said I've never seen the anime and I've never seen the live action. Don't come at me, fam. I'm an average boy over here. Anyway, I heard that they are doing pretty good with that. Um,
Wow.
yeah. So if they're doing pretty good with that, and I heard that like it's doing pretty well because they're like literally changing nothing from the anime. They're just like doing it in live action.
That's what it needs to be.
Yeah, like that's what like we all just want to see what it would look like in real life. That's it.
Honestly, if they did a live action of Korra season 2, I would probably poop my pants.
Okay, can I be real here for a second?
Always.
Korra book 2, I think it's episodes 7 and 8, maybe it's 6 and 7. The flashback episodes with Juan. Those
Mm-hmm.
2 episodes I think are actually my favorite episodes of the entirety of Avatar.
I agree. So, like, for those of you who haven't seen Legend of Korra, they go back into how an avatar was created,
Not an avatar, the avatar.
the OG.
There's only one avatar at a time. Like it's how the avatar is created.
It's crazy too.
Yeah. It's so cool. Juan is so cool and Rava is cool. And it opens up this whole discussion of like the avatar. It's just really neat. I don't know if
Yeah.
I want to get into it.
I just think that Korra faced so many things that no avatar before her faced. And I think that the writers did really well at like showing that physically by when Korra died, she lost the connection to the avatars before her. So, which by the way that she died, super cool. She's amazing, but she was brought back. But when she was brought back, she doesn't have that connection with those avatars before her. And I actually think that that's a huge like signifier that she is now the OG avatar to what's going to become before her or after
Korra
her.
Korra didn't die. Rava died.
No, Korra died in season 3.
She didn't die,
She like died for like 2 minutes.
but she didn't die, and she lost the connection to the previous avatars after book 2 with
Is that when
Rava
she
and
lost
Batu.
it?
Yeah.
Either way, I think the her Rava dying, I guess, it still goes back to what I was saying though, that she becomes like the OG avatar for the avatars after her, if that makes sense. Because all the avatars before her didn't have to deal with she's gonna have to deal with.
Yeah, but I have some serious issues with that too.
Okay.
They're talking about this freaking tree that she's meditating in, right? About how it's like the memory tree and it has like everything for everything that's ever existed ever.
Mm-hmm.
She's meditating in that tree. Girl just has to go to that tree to get all of her memories of the past avatars back. It's like instant fix.
But they didn't.
They didn't, and it pisses me off. Like you had your fix right there. It's just like How to Train Your Dragon 2. I haven't seen number 3 because of this, by the way.
Okay.
In How to Train Your Dragon 2, Stoic is like he like confronts the bad guy, and the bad guy's like, "Oh, I thought you died in that fire." And Stoic's like, "It takes a lot more than fire to kill me." Fast forward literally like 3 or 4 minutes and Stoic dies from fire.
So what you're saying is you just don't like when writers get themselves in a loop.
Yeah, it's stupid. Like think about what you're doing here.
Yeah, I
Like
want to make
don't call it this memory tree thing if like I don't it's probably not called the memory
I
tree, but
think it's the
like
time tree.
yeah, but like don't imply that it has everything that's ever happened stored in its hard drive and you can't go download it.
Yeah, that's true.
Like come on.
You know,
Stupid.
I do feel like though that the writers wanted to introduce the audience to like their OG ideas, like their ideas that they had in the very beginning, but they were like, this probably won't get picked up because the original concept of Aang looks a lot like what's his name? Juan?
Juan.
Juan. They looks a lot like Juan. But then
Well,
they transformed him into what Aang is, and I think that that's like what they brought back with their original like very first napkin sketch idea.
yeah, well, do you have you like heard the story of how it was created?
No, go for it.
They just like drew a picture of like a kid sitting on a cloud herding some sort of animal in the sky. It was like they said it was like sheep or like it might have been buffalo. But like the idea was just this kid sitting on a cloud with a herd of buffalo. So he was like a buffalo shepherd in the sky.
Whoa.
That was the entire concept that they first had. And then they're like, how would this work? And then the whole world exploded from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Such a simple idea to such a cool world.
Yeah. Well, and the art style of Juan, those episodes, it's a very distinct art style.
Really?
And yeah, it's way different than what happens in it's kind of like um I've never seen a play like this, but like the like paper plays where they're like there's like layers of paper, almost like a pop-up book.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Juan's art style is like a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah, go watch it. It's different than Korra. It's different than Aang. I mean, it's done in like a storybook kind of way. It's really neat.
That's interesting. I never knew that.
And I think that's how they drew the first picture too.
Oh wow. See,
Yeah.
that's sort of cool. I I
Yeah.
I will say Korra did really well with the villains. I mean, obviously number four, it's not my
She
favorite
did
book.
great. There were three really good villains.
Who's the one that you don't like?
Kuvira.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's dumb.
I think she's okay. I think she tries to play off as a hero a little bit. I wouldn't say she's terrible. I think it's just because we had three great villains, and then she comes along and we're like, okay, I feel like Korra could just smash this lady. But
Yeah.
then like,
Well, it's also I just didn't like I feel like she just like didn't have a good method for her like end goal.
yeah,
Like she wanted the Earth Kingdom to be like independent, but like she's like destroying the Earth Kingdom to do that.
yeah, which doesn't quite make sense. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like I want you to be independent, so come under my dictatorship rule for a little bit and then you can be independent. It's like I get that that stuff like actually does happen in the world, but like everyone agrees that when that happens in the world that person's an idiot and they need to stop.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even in the show, you saw it. Like the Earthbenders didn't like her. Like the Earth Kingdom people, they were like, no.
Yeah.
But then she'd like force them. There were very little who believed in her dream.
Yeah.
But other villains, Zahir, by far one of the coolest villains I think ever existed.
What was your favorite Zahir moment?
Oh, you know it. Oh gosh. Okay, just Zahir. I really like when Zahir almost kills Katara. When he like makes an air bubble around her head to suffocate her. Like that was insane. Because I think up until that point of like introducing Zahir, there had been no bad airbenders. Like in no one's mind were airbenders bad. So like when Zahir came along and he's just like committing like murder after murder after murder, he's just like so new. And that was like something I wasn't expecting. But yeah, so he like makes a vacuum around Katara's head and is pulling the air out of her lungs to suffocate her. And the only reason that he didn't succeed is because Janora had made a tornado that pulled him away. So I don't know. That's my favorite Zahir moment. What about you?
Nice. Same, but different. When he did it to the Earth Queen,
Yes, that was also sick.
I was like, OMG, are you kidding? This is a kid show.
I know. And
I
he
was like,
succeeded
dude,
on that one.
Buddy Boy is freaking pulling the air out of this lady's lungs. That is wild.
Because I think we all had those ideas. We were like, hey, like especially in like Legend of or the original Avatar series. We were like, oh, well, what about water? Water's in our body. Why don't they just pull the water out of our body? And then they do blood bending. And then like for air bending, I don't know why it never occurred to me, but like when they did that, I was like, whoa, that is mean.
Yeah, well, actually, I have had thoughts though, where like I've had discussions with people before Korra came out. That's like which element do you think is the most dangerous? And I was of the opinion of air, because like theoretically, if you could like attune yourself, like what is air? Like, is it the oxygen? Is it the nitrogen? Like, what is it? Because like if it's the oxygen, you literally could like isolate some oxygen in someone's blood, like in like an artery, and just like expand it, pop their artery, internal bleeding, they're dead.
Yeah.
You
That's what
know,
I'm saying.
and like they'd have no idea what even happened. It would just be like a, and then they're just done.
Okay, so
Like,
you did think about it. I definitely didn't think about it before.
yeah, but
I
I
was
didn't
like,
think about
oh,
like creating a vacuum and pulling the air out and then like making it so you suffocate. But I mean, call back to our episode 2. Apparently, that's how Monk Gyatso killed so many firebenders.
yeah.
Yeah, but I think we have these ideas in our head that they're just like so peaceful and stuff because, like, I mean, they are a monk culture.
Well, it's portrayed to us that way the whole time, the whole
E-
series.
Even all the way back to Juan. Juan came from the fire turtle, where the humans like got safety from the spirits on the turtle, but the next society that he visited was the Air Society, and they were living in harmony with the spirits. You know, it was like everyone in the Air Society just like had the power to bend the air, and they were monks. They like lived with the spirits and everything. You know, so
Yeah.
like then to have Zahir come around who wasn't raised in the culture and stuff, and all of a sudden he's got airbending. He's absolutely going to use it for his own benefit.
Yeah, well, because that's how he was raised.
Yeah.
But then that's also goes back to like when because he's in love with Pali, and which by the way, I sort of love that he's like significantly shorter than her. I was like, wow, representation, just amazing. Like I was like, oh. um. Anyway, I loved that when Pali died, he was finally able to like assume his whole goal because I think up until that point he was split between completing his mission in the Red Lotus to kill the Avatar and taking care of Puli. So when he failed in one, his whole mission became the Red Lotus, and it made sense that all of a sudden he like was able to fly because he had a one-track mind.
Well, it's kind of a callback to Aang with mastering the Avatar state, where he's supposed to be able to let go of Katara, and he's like, 3 chakras ago, it was a good thing, you know.
Yeah.
And like he just like couldn't let go of Katara, and it's kind of the same thing with Zahir. Like when she died, he like recite. I don't remember if he recited the poem right after, but like that poem that he kept reciting said something about like a tether, like you have to release all tethers to the earth, kind of thing. And Plea was his tether. So when she died, he was able to let go of that tether, and that's why he was able to fly.
Well, so amazing. And then his
Yeah,
goons, they were pretty sick too. Like the water lady with no arms.
yeah, that was cool.
I was like, way to take a disability and make it literally the scariest thing in the whole planet. That sounded bad, but
Yeah, that
honestly,
did sound bad. Like not the scariest thing, but like the most powerful thing on the whole
yeah,
planet.
she used the water as her arms, but because like you can shape water in any way, she would have like normal arms, but then she would have like octopus hands, and then all of a sudden she's like grabbing like 8 people at once, and you're like, wow, what the?
Yeah, but that also aided in her death because she's like so connected to water. She like I mean they just like electrocuted the water and that got her.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
so
that's kind
good.
of interesting too.
I have a
And
question
then
for
the
you.
lava bending,
Oh
OMG,
yeah,
so cool.
yes. Oh my
Book
gosh.
3 is book 3 the best book?
I actually would vote yes. I would
Yeah,
say book three is progressively the coolest book because also it's not just the story of Zahir and his gang and us learning about these new forms of bending, but it's also the story of the airbenders because in season two she like restored it to where there's a whole bunch of new airbenders. So you got like
by
um
accident.
by accident. So you got the airbender story and then you also got Katara's story with like the New Republic trying to be like, hey, I know I just created a portal to your city, but it'll be cool. Just like let it be for a second. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, can you imagine just like waking up with airbending powers and then being told that you need to move to an air temple to learn how to harness your powers? And it's basically like if you just woke up with powers and people were like, "Hey, disregard everything you were ever taught. You need to come join this." I mean, it's almost like a religion. Like you have to come join this religion, basically. Like
Yeah.
Tenzin's like talking about like you need to shave your head, like trying to get him to read all this airbender stuff, and it's like that would be wild.
I sort of do like though that I like though that they're like pulling away from the monk where they're like, yeah, there'll be modern monks, and then the modern airbenders and then monk airbenders. Like I sort of like that idea a little bit.
What do you mean though? Because I feel like everyone kind of wound up being modern airbenders. Everyone had wingsuits and stuff.
No, no, what I mean is like I sort of want this next because they're making a new Avatar series that's gonna follow a male airbender. No, sorry, earthbender. And I want them to come across an airbender who's just like a farmer, who hasn't given up their life, who lives with their family but is relatively a good airbender. And then for them to be like, whoa, this is interesting. He's like, yeah, I never really got an invite. I would like to see that because even within the different like bending worlds, there's always like an different like there's waterbenders who become warriors, and then there's waterbenders who just are waterbenders.
Well, and the northern style of fighting is definitely going to be different than the southern style of fighting, and like, because like, oh, what did the owl? What's his name?
Oh,
The owl in the
hey,
library.
something.
You
Hey,
might.
hey, I don't know.
Hey, bye is what you're thinking of.
No, I'm not.
It's like, shh. Anyway, the owl in the library, who like knows everything,
Yeah.
he like makes the comment like, I've studied every style of bending, even foggy swamp bending or water bending or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So like it implies that there's different styles of bending. So within the airbenders, there was probably north, south, east, west, because that's where all the temples were. But now it gives the opportunity for like people who became airbenders within the Earth Nation, like they're gonna have their own style of bending because they're gonna figure it out. Like if you woke up with airbending powers and didn't want to go join the airbenders because you had a life, you would still figure out how to use the airbending.
Yeah. Like I would try and in between my tasks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I just realized something that I'm actually really excited for. With this new avatar, because supposedly Katara, she died early. We don't know how she died, but it's been released that she does die a little bit early, like in her like 40s or 50s. Um, we're gonna see an adult Janora and not Mako. What's the little boy's name? Milo,
Milo.
and then their sister. I forgot their sister's name.
I forgot her name too. She's always forgotten. Poor kid.
She's the middle child, so.
What is it like? Yuki or something like that?
Yeah, that sounds right. Also, the owl's name is Wan Chitong.
Wan Shi Tong, that's right.
Yeah. So I don't know. Anyway, back to Katara. I
Katara or
absolutely
Korra?
Katara. Did I say
Okay.
Korra?
No, you said back to
Oh,
Katara,
I
but we're
mean
talking about Korra.
Korra. So sorry, everybody. Anyway, back to Korra. I think it's interesting that her upbringing was very much so what they wanted Aang's upbringing to be, which is find them young, train them up to be the Avatar. And I think we saw like the difference. Like Korra was a warrior, whereas Aang wasn't. He was very much a peacemaker.
Well, I don't know. I feel like they actually rushed Korra's training a little bit.
Yeah, she was 16
No,
when
she was
she,
3 when they found her.
no, she was 16 when she left to Republic City.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but I mean, she was completing her training. That's why she went to Republic City, was to learn airbending from Tenzin.
Yeah.
Like it's not like she was like, I'm the Avatar now. I mean, she
Yeah.
was, but
That's exactly what she did actually.
yeah. But like with Aang, they show it with Roku. Roku is really what the Avatar was supposed to be like. When you become like, they find the Avatar when they're young, but they don't tell them until they're old enough to understand the weight of the situation.
Hmm.
So like for Roku, he was like 16, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and then like Aang, they told him that they were gonna tell him later, but like they felt like he needed to, like they knew what was gonna happen with Sozin kind of thing. Like they got wind of it. And then Aang like freaked out and ran away. But Korra could bend, she figured out she could bend all the elements at such a young age that she like never got the weight of the situation.
Yeah, I would say that. I think that's actually one of her biggest like banes is her lack of understanding the repercussions.
It's just her pride.
Yes, she's very
She has
prideful.
so much pride, it's annoying.
Yeah, where she's like, I'm the best. And then she goes to like this arena to bend for sport, which is sort of cool that they introduced that. But she's like not the best of the best. And I'm like, I felt like she would be.
Yeah. Yeah, she would be. At least, yeah. She would be the best in the water. Like, let her do it. Okay. We have been talking about Korra the character a lot. And I'm just gonna throw this out right now. I feel like this is something that we could deep dive, not just this, but Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, 100%.
You know how we were talking about how we want to like deep dive. So if you guys want to see that, put it in the comments. Like yes, give us more Avatar. You know, do you want Avatar? Or do you want Harry Potter? We both know a lot about Avatar, but I know more about Harry Potter than both of us collectively know about Avatar. So it's up to
That
you
is
guys.
true.
It's up to you guys.
We could also deep dive Little Women.
Okay. I don't care. Like, I mean, if I like study up on a subject, I could talk about it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Okay. There's something about Korra that we've like talked about it where I could have like jumped in and like mentioned this, but like I never did. And I just want to say it because I think it's cool.
Okay.
So, um, the Red Lotus went after Korra, right?
Mm-hmm.
To get her away from the White Lotus. Also, I don't think their mission was to kill the Avatar at that moment.
It was to end
I
the
think it was just
Avatar
to capture
cycle.
her.
No, it was to end the Avatar cycle.
How would that end the Avatar cycle?
They got to kill her in the Avatar state,
Oh
which
yeah,
would
that's right.
then end the Avatar cycle.
But I mean, the Avatar cycle wound up being ended in book 2 anyway, so now all of book 3 is null.
Well, no, they don't want Avatar at all. Like they want to like end the
Oh
Avatar
yeah, you're right because
cycle.
they killed. Okay, yeah, yeah, you're right. I forgot that is the whole point. Yes. Okay, you're right.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I also just mixed myself up because they killed Rava in book 2, not Korra. Okay, we already talked about that page.
Okay, you know
No,
what we haven't talked
no, let
about?
me get to what I wanted to
Oh,
talk about.
okay, so sorry.
Stop it. So when the Red Lotus went after Korra when she was a child,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know how they like got all those people, Zahir, Plea, and the other two.
Yeah.
Um, that was like a huge battle against the Red Lotus, and the prevailing theory, I don't know if it's been like proven by a creator or anything, but the prevailing theory is that Sokka died during that battle.
Oh, interesting.
That the Red Lotus killed Sokka.
That would actually make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Also, there's a theory, and I sort of like this theory. There's a theory, because we're talking about Sokka, that he married Suki and then Suki died. Like, I don't know why she died, but she died. And then Sokka and Toph got together, and that's how Toph's second child came to be.
I 100
Sulin.
I don't know about the whole like Suki thing. I don't super I wasn't super invested in Suki, honestly. Like personally, I could see Sokka just like dipping out entirely just because I mean, let's be real, Yue is his girl,
Yeah.
you know. So I could see that bothering Suki and Suki just leaving, or maybe Suki has some obligations with the Kyoshi Warriors and Sokka has obligations in Republic City. I don't know. We might see all this stuff go down in the adult series.
But it would make a lot of sense that Sokka is the father of Sulin's
Yeah,
kids.
yes, especially when you look at Sulin's son, who is the boyfriend of Kuvira, and I can't remember his name.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like Sokka with glasses on.
Yeah.
And when you think about all the crazy inventions and stuff that they do, that's Sokka.
Yeah. That's why I think the writers hinted at it enough that we were like, oh, cool. Because, there was that like scene in where they are swimming through the water and Toph comes up out of the water and is saved by Suki, but she doesn't know because she's blind. And she's like, oh, Sokka, you're my hero. And then Suki's like, it's Suki. And then Toph is like, oh no.
You can let me die now. Oh,
Yeah.
drown now. You
You
can let
can
me
let me
drown
go
now.
now. Yeah. And I think it's just like the writers saw that and how the fans are sort of like, oh, actually that wouldn't be too bad. It sort of be nice because he's like the goofy character and then she's like the rough and tumble. But in real life, I feel like that's who get together is the goofy and then the rough and tumble. I think that they
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird to think about it when you're watching that episode and stuff because it's like Sokka's 16 and she's 12, you know?
yeah.
You're a little bit like, that's weird. Like when you like really think about it, you're like, no, that wouldn't work out. But like, I mean, when they get older, when Toph is 22 and Sokka's 26, like
That makes total sense. Like
Yeah.
it in real life that'd work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I also think since we're talking about relationships, I think it was a betrayal of Korra's character for them to just like throw her in relationships and then have like no FaceTime
To
with
just
those
make her a homie
relationships.
hopper. Yeah.
Yeah, like she was with Bolin, and she was with Mako, Bolin, and then Asami, but like she never got you never got to see the relationship.
Yeah. Like, well, it's because of their whole like storyline issue things where it's like, I mean, like she had a pretty solid thing with Mako in book one, and then something happened in like book two and three with him.
I think he still liked Asami.
Yeah, like so I feel like they were just trying to play up the drama, and then by book four, they're like, well, let's just I don't know. That I feel like it all just like all of the relationships for Korra sucked. Like just leave it out of it if you're gonna do it like that.
Yeah, like if you were gonna have her end up with Asami, have her be into Asami earlier on.
Right?
Like, don't just throw it in at the end. That's a huge injustice to the character itself. Like,
Like it even would have been fine for her to homie hop from Bolin to Mako because like that made sense. But like when she's with Mako, then to like allude to her liking Asami, like that could happen in real life, you know?
yeah, I it was
But
just
like,
really broken up writing.
yeah, well, and it really did come out of left field. Like
Yeah.
I never once thought that she had anything for Asami.
Well, and then the writers, and I know a lot of people are like, look, their belts are in hearts in the beginning of season 4. When like, have you seen that screenshot?
No.
There's like a part where they're about to like run into a battle, and then Korra and Asami's belts are in the shape of hearts. Like the knot changes from a normal knot to a heart. And everyone was like, see, they alluded to it. And I'm like, no, I'm not talking about the super subtle things. Like build a relationship. And I think that's another thing that I do have an issue with is because of the broken up writing, the way that they were signed, these characters didn't really have a consistent story. Like Mako and Bolin had such a good backstory in season 1. And in season 2 and 3, it's like they were the most vanilla plain yogurt characters.
Yeah.
Well, not even vanilla. They were just like plain yogurt characters, Greek even, where it's like, ah, that's a little not processed enough. And it's
I'd
like,
take it over the other stuff.
but I'm just saying, like, Mako and Bolin had very little character writing. I know Mako had like a relationship a little bit, but like, and Bolin got to become an actor. But like, did he like being an actor? Did he want to do that in the future? They never talked about like what they wanted to do with that. They were just like, yeah, he's an actor now.
Yeah, well, it was almost like they were like, well, they're part of the new gang, so we have to keep them.
Yeah, and it's like, well, technically you don't. Like, this is a whole new story.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I mean we keep talking about how like the writers did it, but like really it's Nickelodeon's fault.
Yes. The
Nickelodeon
writers
should
are
have I don't know why Nickelodeon was so scared to give them more than one book. Like they should have just told them like, "Hey, you've got a 3 book arc. Go with it."
I don't even know because if I'm genuinely curious as to what would happen. Would we have gotten the gloriousness that is 2 and 3? Or like were the writers just like, well, this is super cool stuff that we wanted to get out over the course of time, so let's just poop it out right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
But overall, I would say Korra is I think she is really powerful. I think she's super fun to watch in fights. That's one complaint that I definitely don't have. Her fights are so cool and her bending is just phenomenal. I do like all those scenes.
Okay, you're bringing up something here where you're like talking about how Korra is really powerful and stuff. Brings up a question in my mind: Who would win in a fight, Aang or Korra? We'll say end of book three, Aang, because obviously adult Aang would wreck her.
End of book 3, Aang
End of
versus
book three, Aang versus um, we'll just say peak Korra from what we saw of peak Korra. Because I'm saying we have seen adult Aang. We've seen things that adult Aang is capable of.
are they allowed to go into the Avatar state?
Yes.
Aang.
Are you saying that because he has all the other avatars and she doesn't?
No, I'm saying I feel like he would wait long enough to tire her out. I think that if she was in a fight, she would go at it headstrong, sort of like a rhino, and then like she would do her like 30-second sprint and then be done. Like I think she'd be tired after that.
So
And
do
then
you think
that's when
she's
he would
more
strike.
powerful than Aang though?
I think her herself without the avatar state would, and Aang wasn't allowed to go into it, I think that she would beat him.
I don't.
But if Aang were to go into the avatar state, I think that he would have the patience and the ability to like go against her. Because if you
Okay,
think
yeah,
about it,
let's talk about this no avatar state here because I think he would still win no avatar state.
really, why?
Aang as a 12-year-old is dodging so many people as just an airbender without knowing any of the other elements. Book 3 Aang knowing all the elements and being able to actually take bending away, not just block chakras with blood bending.
Mm-hmm.
Like that boy, I think is the most powerful avatar.
Yeah, but we're talking about peak Korra, right? Like we're talking about
Yeah, but
like
when I'm talking peak Korra, I'm talking like end of book 4, just everything we've seen of Korra. Because what I'm trying to avoid is like adult Aang. We've seen adult Aang go up against Amon's dad. I forgot his name. Doesn't matter. Um, but like I'm saying, like as an adult, we've seen what Aang can do, and it's like terrifying, you know. But like 12-year-old Aang at the end of book 3 versus 18-year-old Korra at the end of book 4, 20-year-old Korra, whatever she is, I still think Aang would win.
I would say if Aang was able to withstand her powerful attacks, then yeah, he'd probably win. But if he wasn't like able to do that, if he wasn't able to dodge it, I think her brute strength would destroy him.
Okay, I think I have a very good example of why I think Aang would win.
Okay, why?
Aang fought Boomy when he was just an airbender, knew nothing about waterbending.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, Boomy did go easy on him, but it was still like pretty powerful compared to like what Korra would throw at him, you know? And
Okay.
like Aang was able to at least make it come to a stalemate.
Mm-hmm.
So like I think Aang has the wherewithal about him to like be able to dodge her attacks, anticipate. Like he can do the whole like sensing thing. Well, I guess she can too. Um, but like I just feel like he's got so much more under his belt. He's like a better master of the elements than she is.
Yeah, I would say that. That's
Now
what I'm
I
saying. If he could be patient enough and like survive while she's doing her 30-second sprint, then he would for sure win. But if
but he
she,
is patient. When is he not patient?
I don't know, sometimes he's not. Like in the very beginning, he wasn't, and sometimes he wasn't.
When?
Okay.
Like when it comes to a battle, he's very patient and calculated.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but like I'm just saying, I'm not like throwing out specific examples. In my mind, in this hypothetical, not real battle, if Aang was too childish, because remember, he's 12 years old. I know that he's good at what he does. I know that he's good at the like elements. But if he acts like a normal 12-year-old and he gets distracted by something or he just like isn't able to like focus on the fight long enough, Korra would pummel him in the first 30 seconds. But if he's able to like just put that all aside, then yeah, you'd win. And then I'm agreeing with you.
But we are talking about end of book 3 Aang, so we know he's able to put all those childish things aside.
He is able, but I'm saying in this hypothetical fight, if he wasn't, because he's still 12.
Okay, who do you think would win a fight between Aang and Wan?
Juan.
Why?
He's just raw power.
Yeah, I think it would be Wan too. I
You set
think
that up like
Wan.
you set that up like Juan wasn't gonna win, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to defend this hypothetical fight again too.
No, yeah, I think Wan is just. Yeah, he's not. I mean, he learned from the masters. You know, like he learned from dragons. He learned from. He learned from the like he learned from like the sources kind of thing
Yeah.
because it was so long ago. Yeah, like the only avatar that I think Korra would actually have a chance against of the avatars we've seen, minus the airbending one that talked to Aang because we have no idea her capabilities, and also the waterbending guy, Korik or whatever his name is. I know there's books about him. I haven't read them, so I'm not gonna pit her against them. So I'm saying like Aang, Roku, Kyoshi, and Wan. I think the only one Korra would have a chance against is Roku.
No, the surfer guy she would totally destroy.
I just said I'm not bringing in Korik because I don't know anything about him. We know nothing about him except
He
for
was a
what's in the
terrible
books.
avatar. He was a terrible
Great.
avatar.
I didn't know that. Well, all I know is that he said that he was like loosey goosey when he was talking to Aang. So
Easy
yeah,
breezy, loosey
I guess
goosey.
she would beat him because he'd be like, "Saw, dude," and then she'd just like throw a rock at him, and he'd be like, "Okay, I'm out."
Exactly. Yeah. See, you know him well enough. I would say her and Kiyoshi. Oh, I don't know.
Kyoshi would beat her.
I don't
I'm gonna rank my
know.
avatars real quick. Wan, Aang, Kyoshi. I'm actually gonna put Roku above Korra. I think Roku would squeak out the win, but just barely.
I don't think so. I think it would be Juan, Aang. Oh, geez, I don't know because Korra.
Kyoshi better be next on your list,
I
or we're
don't
gonna have
know though.
another little argument here.
I don't know. You haven't read the books though. She was weak when she didn't become the Avatar until she was an actual adult. So if we're like doing like equal age thing, because we don't know where Korra was as an adult, right?
I don't think I'm doing equal age because if we were doing equal age, Aang would absolutely slap Korra at
Yeah, that's what
20.
I'm saying. No, but
But
here's the thing,
I
right?
think what
Like,
I'm doing is like after your first like big Avatar trial, like what your season would be, what your series would be. So
well, if
Aang's
that was a,
series ends at Ozai.
okay,
Korra's series ends at Kuvira.
but what I'm saying though, Kyoshi doesn't have a series. We've only seen her as adult Kyoshi, fully formed Avatar. But you haven't read the books yet. So
Probably never will.
all I'm saying is her book style, she's definitely below Korra. But if we're doing like adult, fully adult, then yeah, she moved up. So as adult avatars, I would say Juan as adult, Aang, Kyoshi, Korra, Roku,
Well, as
Surfer
adult, I
Guy.
might actually put Aang above Wan.
I wouldn't. Aang still died pretty young. Juan lasted like
Aang did
years.
also master the element of ourselves. Like
Ooh.
he's able to like
Oh, but then there's the
he's an energy bender. He's the only avatar that's an energy bender. The only one we know of.
okay, but then there's the argument, right? That like Korra spends spirit energy. So like,
But like that's not like real bend. Like I mean, she uses it. It's a water bending technique. Like
yeah, but Aang doesn't know how
Buddy
to do
Boy,
that.
Bad Boy, Uncle, and number two that I can't remember his name. He uses it.
Yeah, but Aang doesn't know how to do it. So
No, it's a
he
water
probably
bending technique.
would.
Okay, how would you spirit bend Aang?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, Aang was able to withstand blood bending.
For like a split second. So is Korra.
Don't come after my boy Aang. You're gonna lose.
Aang and Korra had the same exact move to get out of bloodbending. Same exact move. And I will tell you right now what it is. It was the kick. It was the kick. Because when Aang went to go kill Sokka with the bloodbending, he like kicked with his foot
What?
with air.
Think about what you're saying. When Aang went to kill Sokka, what?
Yes, yes, yes. Okay.
No, Aang went to kill Sokka.
When he was under the influence of bloodbending. Remember, they had the sword, the blood witch grabbed Aang and was like, Katara, you have to choose. And she's like,
Oh
okay, so like,
no.
but before that, wait, I'm not done. Wait,
Okay,
I'm not
okay.
done. Aang had like a split second of, oh, you're gonna talk about adult Aang. Okay, so but little Aang, when he got out of the bloodbending, he kicked. And then Korra also did the exact same thing when Amon was bloodbending him at the end of season 1. She kicked him and the air. So it was the same move. So if you're saying that he's better because of the bloodbending, I'm saying she did the exact same thing.
Okay, viewers slash listeners, go back. It's probably been 7 minutes now, but I was talking. We've moved on to like full fledged. I'm talking about Aang is number one at fully realized Avatar, and then we brought it back to Korra, like when he's a fully realized Avatar and he's being bloodbend by Yanrock or whatever his name is. I don't know. It's probably not
Yeah,
even
wrong
that.
sounds
Well,
pretty good.
Tonrock is Korra's dad's name, so and Noah Talk is his kids. So I don't know. Anyway, bad boy, who's bloodbending Aang. Like
Uh,
Aang's all like like going all Halloween style, and he just like snaps out of it and energy bends Buddy Boy. Like he's good. I
He is
think
good.
Aang might be the best fully realized Avatar.
Oh, but he also lived longer than Korra's gonna live.
He really didn't live that. Okay, if you're counting the time in the glacier, yeah, he's going to be the longest living Avatar. Minus those 100 years,
No, I'm saying that
and
Korra's
he
gonna.
only lives to like 60 something.
Okay, I'm not saying I'm fully swayed, but I guess he is pretty cool.
He's pretty cool.
Let me just put it this way, Caleb. Let me just put it this way.
If we are
I
going fully realized Avatar, Korra would beat Roku. I will concede that.
Okay, then I will concede that Aang is the best.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, but so then overall, then it would be like Aang, Wan.
Fully realized, yes. I think Wan might be just below Aang. And it really comes down to the energy bending. And it also comes down to we haven't seen what Wan accomplished during his life. But at the end of his life, like he wasn't able to keep the firebenders at bay.
Yeah, that's true.
Aang
So
was.
then, so Aang, Wan, Korra, Roku, or Kyoshi.
Fully realized, I mean, it would be, I think it would go Aang, Wan, probably Kyoshi, then Korra, then Roku.
I don't know though, but Kyoshi was really good at earthbending, but the other ones she wasn't great at.
Kyoshi lava bended.
Yeah, and I think so could Korra,
I don't know. She couldn't metal bend,
but she can now.
can she? I thought she
Yeah,
couldn't ever figure it out.
no, she can.
Oh, good for her.
So that's why I don't know. I think Korra would be just above Kyoshi because Kyoshi was very like stubborn in her learning. And then
And Korra wasn't?
no, I'm telling you, Kyoshi was like 18 before she like even realized that she could do other ones.
Okay. Okay.
So Korra, then Kyoshi. And that's just because you have read the books. I think you would be 100% on my side if you had read the books.
Here's my issues with the books. I read the book about finding Zuko's mom.
The Promise, The Search,
Sure, I don't know. I got it from a library.
The Search.
Okay. I didn't like it.
The comics are actually the only things that are really sanctioned by Nickelodeon. The other books are more of just like the equivalent of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
So they're fan fiction.
A little bit more fan fiction than they are by the
So in the
authors.
fan fiction, Kyoshi's weak. In the fan fiction, Kyoshi does only earthbending.
I would say though that it was approved. So,
Oh, does it have the Nickelodeon symbol on it?
oh shoot, it's upstairs. I don't know. Probably.
I don't know. We'll figure that out
This
later.
one does. The comics do.
Yeah, yeah, I know the comics are like official. They're written by like the writers, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there's just so many things about Korra. We really do need to deep dive it.
Okay, but here's the thing, right? And this is for everybody. I think the reason we're having such a tough time deciding if Korra is like as powerful as we think that she is because her story was so disconnected that I don't feel like they gave her the same chance that Aang got, which is where Aang had like a consistent growth, right? Like it
Yeah,
was
it's
like,
exactly like what we were talking about before, how like each time they reset the story, she went back to the same low. But Aang
yeah,
just got to keep going up, up and up and up.
yeah. Which is like unfair, I feel like a little bit. Um, so I'm hoping I hope with this next Avatar series that they resolve some of those like story breaks a little bit and maybe do like a flashback like they did with the original gang in Legend of Korra and where they like show um Korra being an actually accepted avatar. Because that's another thing. I would say that Aang was well received wherever he went, but
That's true because they
Korra,
had 100 years of no Avatar.
yeah, and then Korra would show up and they'd be like, "Oh, we hate the avatar," and then like a tomato comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
And I feel like that was a little unfair too. Like from going from such a respected title to like scum of the earth. I don't think that that would really happen.
yeah, that's true. That is a good point. Korra had a rough go of it.
Yeah, poor
I do.
lady.
Okay, so they're gonna do another Avatar, right?
Yeah, they're gonna
Earth
do. They're
next.
doing yeah Earth, and I think it's
Is it
supposed
a
to come out in 2025.
is it a direct continuation after Korra, or is it a previous Earth Avatar? Do we
No, it's
know?
supposed to be the next one after Korra.
Okay, here's something about Korra. that I get, but I didn't like
Okay.
the technology.
Yeah, I didn't like that either.
Part of the allure of Avatar: The Last Airbender was like just like the world they lived in and how like the firebenders, yeah, they were able to make a bunch of machines and stuff, but like that was their only way to really compete. Because like honestly, if you were to like rank the bending styles in terms of like power, utility, like weaponry, whatever, like to be able to use these bending styles, I think fire comes in last.
Yeah.
Like fire, really the best benefit they have is that they're able to like heat up metals and like forge the metals and stuff. Like, I mean that kind of stuff is cool, but like I think like okay, here's the thing. If you are fighting a human, you are most likely on Earth unless you're on the boats. So that's why I think the Fire Nation like had their navy, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's why they were able to overcome the Earthbenders a little bit was like using their navy. Well, like that's why they were able to get the Waterbenders. Anyway, I'm digressing here. There's Earth everywhere. There's water in your body, and air literally exists all around the Earth, no matter where you are.
Yeah.
I get that they can create their own fire, but like each of these other bending styles have a way to overcome the fire, and the fire doesn't necessarily have a way to overcome everything else.
I would say that. That's another thing though. I feel like other ones have an ability to almost become solid. I guess air wouldn't necessarily have a way to become solid,
I mean, you could just create a force of wind that just stops stuff.
but fire isn't solid. Like
Yeah,
never ever ever is it solid. It's hot, but if I really wanted to, I could push through it. And I know that like explosions, but like you have to be a very specific firebender to be able to create explosions.
yeah, the Sparky Sparkies
Yeah, sparky sparky boom. Yeah, I would agree with that. I'd say that it would go fire.
on the
Oh
bottom.
gosh. Yeah. And then what would maybe air after
I
that?
I actually think I would do Earth next.
Really? Well,
Yeah,
yeah, because you could isolate an earth person pretty quick.
yeah. I mean, they do. They put those Earthbenders on that barge in Avatar: Last Airbender.
Then water, then air.
Yeah, I think Airbenders are the most powerful. But like, then you like change it though to like utility, and it's like, I mean, Earthbenders all of a sudden do have a lot of utility because like you could literally Earthbend a home for yourself. You know,
Yeah.
like Toph got good enough that she could create the entire city of Bossing, say,
In
like
sand.
in sand. Yeah, so like she would have the ability to go anywhere and like create a 3-story house for herself.
Isn't that also super sick about Top? And I know we like sort of strayed a little bit from Legend of Korra, where her, because of her blindness, she just like memorizes maps like crazy.
Yeah, yeah, so cool.
Such a cool character.
Okay, but like what I going back to what got me on this train of thought in the first place, it was like the technology. So it's like I get that the Fire Nation does have some technology in Avatar: The Last Airbender to overcome their weaknesses against the other nations. And it does make sense that when Republic City's created, that they're going to pool all their information together and start to create a lot more stuff. I
Hmm.
just don't like that it happened.
Something something that I don't that the disconnect I think between Korra and Avatar: The Last Airbender is the things that the Fire Nation makes and even the Airbenders, those like flying wing things when they meet the colony of Airbenders, but they're not Airbenders, they're just Air Nation with like the kid in the wheelchair. I
Oh,
forget
I,
what.
I was thinking of Korra. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I'm
Yeah,
throwing it back to that. So
yeah, the gliders.
all of those inventions I think revolve around bending. All of the inventions in Avatar: The Last Airbender. So it revolves around like what can I bend to make this work. But in Korra, it's not like that. It's now just running off of gas. Like the cars, the planes, you don't have to be able to bend to be able to use it. So in that regard, I'm a little bit like, I don't know, you're walking such a fine line.
But I mean, it does make sense because like we do all those things in real life without bending,
Yeah, but then comes along like when are they going to get phones? When are they going to get like
and
all of the
that's
other technology?
that's exactly what I was going to bring up. What is the new Earthbender going to be like? Like, is Bro going to be walking around in a hoodie? Like I mean, like the styles are all going to change. Like, are they going to have internet? Like, are they going to be exploring space?
Yeah, like where's the line end? How do you draw it, and how do you make sure that it doesn't
Yeah.
seep into something bigger?
Yeah, and I mean this same conversation goes into a lot of things. Like, I mean, you can bring it into Harry Potter, like, like it was based in the 90s. Like, were they listening to ABBA too,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So
it's just a problem that needs to be fixed.
was a problem that they shouldn't have created. I get why they created it, but they
Speaking of
just shouldn't
which,
have.
Asami, she was actually supposed to be the villain in book one. She was supposed to be like an Amon sympathizer, and she was supposed to end up going against Korra, and they were gonna like kill her off, I'm pretty sure. But there was like so much great reception that they kept her. And I think that's why her story is a little bit like, yeah, you have a dead dad, dead mom. Sorry. That's your story. And it's like, come on, give the girl like a hobby, what
Yeah,
does she like to do other than just being a CEO?
she likes motorcycles.
Yep. Wow. How would that conversation go? You're on a date with somebody and you're like, so tell me about yourself. I like motorcycles. Okay, what else? I have a dead mom, dead dad. Oh, sorry to hear that. Anything else? I like motorcycles.
I mean, obviously, there's more to her.
Yeah, but we don't
Actually,
get to hear it.
okay, but real talk, out of Korra's gang, I think Asami is my favorite of the core four. No, it's Bolin. Who am I kidding? It's Bolin.
It's Bolin, but I would say Mako is my least favorite.
Mako had the potential to be the cool one.
He's just so whiny. He's too angsty.
Yeah, he's too angsty. It just goes back to Sabine. When there's too much angst, I'm
Yes.
out.
Yes. Asami, I would say, is the most balanced. I think she reminded me the most of like
A human.
almost like Suki. Yeah. Like where it was like the voice of reason.
Yeah.
And also she was the only one who really cared about Korra. At the end, like she was like writing Korra and no one else had really written her.
Yeah.
I was like, ah, what terrible friends.
Yeah. Geez. Like, I feel like I don't want to cut any of what we've talked about out of the episode. So it might just be a long episode. And I have a million more. Like, we didn't even talk about Varric once. And
We didn't even talk about
I
Bolin's
don't want to go down
girlfriends.
that. Yeah, we didn't really talk. We only talked about Zahir a little bit. There's just so much that we could talk about. And like, okay, everyone get in the comments and tell us to do the deep dive so I don't feel bad about us doing the deep dive. Like, I think I'm just at the point where we're going to do a deep dive on
You know,
Avatar.
something else that we didn't talk about? Coolest kill in the whole series.
Plea?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. And why
literally.
was it cool?
It's
Like,
literally so mind blowing.
we'll have to talk about it in a deep dive.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Hey, you know how we've been putting gifs at the end
Mm-hmm.
during like the wow nerd? We could put that in as the gif.
Oh my gosh. Stay tuned, guys.
Yeah. Watch to the end credit scene.
We'll make it extra long this time.
Yeah, what else can we talk about to make it long? No, I'm just kidding.
All
Uh,
right.
okay, yeah, we're gonna pause right here because like this is not the end of Avatar: Last Airbender. Geez, yeah, we need to just get into this. We
Yeah,
know
we
way
do.
too much about this.
Yeah. Almost an unhealthy amount.
Yeah, this conversation is one of those conversations why we decided to do the podcast.
Okay. But also, guys, just know that when you're at the lowest point, you're also open to the greatest change. Just keep that in mind.
Oh, go look up the song. It's called "Greatest Change" from Legend of Korra season 1 soundtrack.
So good. Right up there with Romantic Flight from How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah, I mean, "Romantic Flight" is right up there with it. Okay.
Okay, let's get to it, Caleb. Out of 5, where would you put it?
Where would I put the series of Legend of Korra?
Yeah, not individually, which would be important, just all of it together.
Uh, 4 point. There's so much that I love about it, but so much that I hate about it. Like, it's like I
I
I want to give it a 4.7, but I feel like in my heart of hearts, I actually give it a 4.4.
Oh, interesting. I was gonna say 4.3 because I really have a tough time with character building, but I love the little things about it.
Yeah. Well, I almost said 4.2, so 4.3 might actually be good.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah,
Unity.
averages,
Ow! Bada-bing.
mathematics, arithmetic.
Cool. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. We'll definitely have to revisit the subject again.
Yeah, I don't know how you watch Legend of Korra. If you need to borrow my DVDs, let me know.
It's on Netflix, guys. It's on
Oh,
Netflix.
it's on Netflix.
All right. Bye. Love you guys.
Bye, love you.
Wow.
Nerd.